The following segments are pre-recorded and sponsored by Longworth Productions.
Major funding for Triad Today comes from Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Carolina, making healthcare better for all. Arts Extravaganza on Triad Today. Hello everyone, I'm Jim Longworth and welcome to another edition of Triad Today, coming to you once again from the Kernersville Auto Museum. We'll tell you more about a special event coming to the museum. We'll do that later on. Later on is when the roundtable shows up. We'll do sort of an election wrap-up and many other things, plus great guests coming your way throughout the half hour. Where we want to start, two friends of the show. On the far right, our good buddy Andy Motchard, who is Community Relations Manager for Modern Auto. Andy's special guest is Eureka Felipe Eustache. She's Chief Development Officer for the Arts Council of Winston-Salem Forsyth County. Good to see both of you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Andy, let me start with you. How has Modern Auto been involved with the Arts Council and why?
Well, we have a long, rich history of being involved in the communities and reinvesting in the communities where our employees and customers live, work, and play, basically since 1933. And a big part of that has been support for the arts. Arts Council is a perfect partner for us, specifically supporting the arts as it relates to youth education,
right?
Because it has such an impact. It only makes sense for us, a 14th year now of partnering with Arts Council and bringing out the Spring Arts Extravaganza.
Yeah, we're going to get into the details of that first, but Eureka, now just bring people back up to speed. What's the mission of the Arts Council and what does it do?
Arts Council of Winston-Salem and Forsyth County, we're the chief advocate for arts and culture in the community, and with that we provide grants to artists and art organizations. We help to fund their efforts in the community. We also help to provide venues at a low cost, in-kind donations, and we also support and keep those facilities running in our organization so that the community can have access to art.
I just think that's great. Now, you also work closely with schools, and that's going to bring us back around to my next question about the big event, but you work closely with schools, right?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the grants that we fund, the categories is arts and education, and last year we funded that effort with over $267,000. So, partners like Modern Automotive, Wells Fargo, Reynolds American, they help us provide those grants to help the arts be accessible to all students, K through 12. Arts Extravaganza is super special. Again, 14 years of bringing art to our campus specifically.
Now, tell us a little bit about the Art Extravaganza. I know it's March 23rd through the 27th, but what are we going to see? What's going on?
Well, the artists move in on the 23rd, so from the 24th until the 27th, families and students can actually come to the campus to view the art in the 3 different galleries that we'll have available. And everything culminates on Friday the 27th from 4 to 6 with an awards show at 5:30.
Right.
And so with that, we're going to provide 2 artists, first and second place in elementary school, middle school, and high school. And those awards are, again, funded by Modern Automotive. And the teachers get an award as well. So the first and second place teacher this year will get an award. And we're excited it's really exciting. The families are so excited. The students are excited. So Friday's a very special day, but they still have the opportunity all week to come see the art. And parking is free on Friday. Thank you, Modern Automotive.
That's right. So, folks, you're going to be able to see all kinds of art, primary level, middle school, high school. As you get a little bit more sophisticated as you go on there, and I think that's just great. But I want to just circle back on talking about, not just to brag because Andy's here, but circle back for a few seconds, and let's talk about why private companies and public companies, it's so important to have the community support what you're doing. Andy, of course, Modern Auto and Fowlers and everybody doing what they do with the Art Extravaganza. But how can everybody get involved?
They can get involved by coming to the shows and the events that we have on campus, funding and helping the artists gain support. Donations also help. We are always accepting donations. You can go to the website and make a gift. You can support the artists that support us and the organizations that support us.
Right. Let me put you all on the spot, both of you. Are either of you artistic? Would you consider yourself artistic? Andy?
Not in the least.
I sing. I don't sing well, but I like to sing. So yes, I'm an artist in my own right.
But when did you used to do drawing and stuff as a kid?
I did draw, and I did have art featured one time. So I understand how special it is. When I grew up in Brooklyn, my art was displayed in the library. And so when I see the children with that same level of excitement, showing their art to their family members. The elementary school level, they're featured in Reynolds Place Theater, so it's our largest one. We have the largest amount of art being exhibited there. And then Sawtooth will house our middle school students. And then upstairs in our facility in Mount Castle will be the high schoolers. So it's just fun to see the families enjoy it just as much as the teachers.
And up on screen, March 23rd through the 27th, Milton Road Center for the Arts. For info, go to intothearts.org. Also check out modernauto.com. I'm like Andy, though. My artwork was on my walls at home, and Mom made me wash it off. So to Eureka and Andy, thanks for all y'all doing. Seriously.
Thank you so much.
We'll be right back after this.
I am so
Why
frustrated.
can no one help me?
Waiting
This is
is
a
the
nightmare.
worst. I think it's healthcare is broken.
At Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina, we get it.
Really?
Really. That's why we're making healthcare better for all. Starting with you. Yes, you, Daryl. We're making plans easier to navigate by putting your benefits, prescriptions, and details all in one place. Convinced?
No. But it's a start.
We'll take it. Blue Cross North Carolina. Making healthcare better for all. Starting with you.
The world's brightest are Fulbrights, Goldwaters, McNairs, and Spartans.
And we know you will make a difference wherever you go.
UNCG. Find your way here.
Back now on Triad Today. Always glad we can spend a few minutes with some of the good folks from Alamance Community College. And our special guest is a first-time visitor to the show. Kirsten Garrison is coordinator of accessibility services at Alamance Community College. And welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Bring me up to speed, Kirsten. What is accessibility services? What do you mean by that?
Sure. Accessibility services is really services designed to support students with documented disabilities in accessing all of our college's programs by ways of reasonable accommodations or services.
Give me some specific examples of how you might support those students.
Absolutely. Support can look like classroom accommodations or testing accommodations, adaptive equipment, assistive technologies, even services, things like interpreting services, sign language interpreters, things like that.
Okay. Now, you also sent me an email one day about something called Access to Achievement. Access to Achievement, I guess, is a separate initiative, or maybe it's wrapped into this. What is that all about, and who does it serve?
Sure. Access to Achievement is another student support that we have at Alamance Community College, designed to support students who identify as having an intellectual or developmental disability. That can really be a broad scope. We may think that steers just towards cognitive disabilities, but even students who are neurodiverse or have learning differences can access this program.
How could you help somebody like that? What would be a support service?
Sure. It's really an individualized support where an individual person-centered plan is developed to help that student navigate the college processes, really benefit from a full college experience. Things like counseling and financial aid, or connecting with student supports, academic or social supports, peer mentoring. It's really based off the individual student and their needs and what their desires are.
Well, Kirsten, would this program be limited in helping them with certain trades or a particular degree, or can they branch out and do other things too?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So students and Access to Achievement can be in any of our college's programs, any of our pathways. And the intent is that the student is gaining education and training in a career field of their interest, ultimately for gainful employment in that field.
Right, which is sort of the whole mission of the community college there at Alamance, that when we talk to Ken Engel and all the great folks over there and get people ready to go out into the world of work.
Absolutely.
And now, how do the things you and I have been talking about over the last couple of minutes, how do they impact the broader community, the broader Alamance Community College community, meaning not just students, but faculty and staff?
Yeah, so I really have a passion about educating others, and the education that these initiatives and my support for the college has put into our faculty, our staff, our students, building that understanding and compassion and rapport for these individuals, really emphasizes that these unique supports that are required to eliminate barriers due to disabilities really improve educational access for all of our students.
Well, when and how, I guess it's a combination question, when and how can students with some kinds of disabilities avail themselves of the kind of services you've mentioned? I mean, does it start from day one when they come to the college, or do they have to sign up for something, or how does that happen?
Yeah, so either of these supports, so accessibility services or access to achievement, can be initiated at any time once they're a student at ACC. So for accessibility services, students do have to complete a request form and provide documentation of that disability, disclosing what it is and how it impacts them. And that information is then reviewed and a meeting set up to engage in discussion together about the specific barriers that student has to determine accommodations.
Right.
And with access to achievement, it's really students sign up or come in asking for some support, and then we sit down together and figure out what's next.
I just think that's great. Up on screen, alamanccc.edu. That's alamanccc.edu. 10 or 15 seconds, tell me what you like about being an educator.
It's definitely the students, working with them every day and seeing how they grow.
Well, you do a great job at it. Kirsten, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
We'll be right back after this. Hi, I'm Jim Longworth, reminding you that Triad Today also airs on GTN Spectrum Channel 13 and streams on WFMY Plus, free on Roku and Amazon Fire. Back now on Triad Today, and we'd like to tackle sort of a serious topic about energy and how it's related to economic growth, and I want to do that with two good friends. On the far right, of course, our buddy Hank Henning, who's the Manager of Government Community Relations with Duke Energy, and he brought along a very special guest. Danielle Buckins is Director of Economic Development for Duke Energy. Good to see both of you.
Thanks for having us.
Hank, let me start with you, buddy. I understand you wanted to talk about growth today, but in what context, and why is Danielle here to help out?
Well, it's a great question. Thanks for having us. So, as we've mentioned on previous episodes, North Carolina is one of the fastest growing states in the country. And what comes along with that is the need for more power. So we invited Danielle to join us. She's, as you said, our North Carolina Director of Economic Development, to talk about some of the questions we're getting from our ratepayers and some of the protections that are in place to make sure that everyone's paying their fair share.
Right. Well, now, let's talk about, Danielle, let's talk about you and I with economic development in North Carolina. Talk about the growth, especially, let's say, in 2025.
Yeah, sure. So in 2025, we saw projects announced that represented 33,000 jobs and $23 billion in capital investment for North Carolina.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome, and it's not by accident. I will say a lot of folks, including policymakers, the Utility Commission, are doing hard work to make sure that North Carolina is positioned well for growth. Not only that, but North Carolina was ranked the #1 state for business, as well as #3 for population growth. So people want to invest here, work here, and also live here.
Yeah, and that's good news, but also slipped into that conversation is, and Hank sent me an email about this one day, is these data centers that seem to be springing up around the country that consume a lot of energy. Now, bring me up to speed on data centers, because there's one of them proposed nearby, and are you recruiting them or what?
So as a regulated utility, we must serve customers that are located within our service territory. So our role is not to recruit one industry over another. Really, what we're doing is working very closely with the local economic development officials and local leaders in order to support them in ways that align with their vision for the community. So whether that's a data center, manufacturer, or otherwise. So we play a supporting role, like for here in the Triad, for instance. We would be working with local economic development organizations as well as the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina. When a prospective business is seeking to locate or expand in the territory, they'll have questions related to electric, and we would help those communities respond to that business.
Yeah, well, but very quickly though, I'm also wondering some of the conversations going on about data centers. People want to know, are they going to pay their fair share, or is it going to fall back on me, the consumer, as far as electricity is concerned?
Yeah, absolutely. So just to demystify or dispel a myth, we are not incenting data centers to come here. They're not going to receive a discount on their electric bill.
Okay.
In fact, we have large load contracts in place for these large load customers that are going to make them responsible for paying for the generation and transmission infrastructure that's required for their specific service.
I think that puts people's mind at ease that they're not going to get hit with increases because of data centers are coming, and they're not cutting special deals for data centers, but we get the jobs coming in like you mentioned there. Yeah. Hank, before we wrap up, a few seconds, any final thoughts?
Yeah, thanks again for having us on this topic. Your viewers, I think, have heard this before, but just to reiterate, we don't set our own rates. Whether it's data centers or other customers, there is a very rigorous review and approval process through the North Carolina Utilities Commission that's there to ensure that everyone pays their fair share, and our ratepayers, quite frankly, statewide, are protected.
Right. All right, up on screen, duke-energy.com is the website. I hope you will check that out with lots of good information on there. And to Hank and Danielle, thanks for all the work you're doing behind the scenes, as well as in front of the camera today, to help us understand more about this. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
We'll be right back after this.
I got free meals. What do you mean? No, seriously, how much did you pay us? I didn't pay anything. I learned how to cook all of these fresh foods that were delivered to my house. Everything in that grocery bag that's fresh, I had a recipe for, and I know how to cook. It encouraged us to eat better, to shop better, make better decisions.
Back now on Triad Today. Always glad when we can visit with some good folks from the Winston-Salem Foundation, a group that does so many great things for so many people. And with us right now is a first-time visitor to the show, Briella Holland. She's Strategic Initiatives Officer for the Winston-Salem Foundation. Good to see you.
Yes, thanks for having me today.
Now remind everybody, what's the mission of just very briefly, what's the mission of the Winston-Salem Foundation?
Well, the Winston-Salem Foundation is all about fostering meaningful relationships and linking those resources that they come by to support meaningful and purposeful projects and actions within Forsyth County.
Yeah, you sent me an email one day about something called the Women's Fund. So I want to learn more about that. What's the Women's Fund all about? What's the vision of that, and when was it created? Bring me up to speed.
Okay, yes. So the Women's Fund was actually created with a strong and simple truth that when women and girls have the opportunity to thrive, communities are better, they're stronger, and they're more resilient. The Women's Fund is actually an extension of the Winston-Salem Foundation, and that it still stays true to the commitment of building those strong communities.
And you said how many years has it been going?
Oh, how many?
A lot.
Yes.
For a long time,
it's
haven't it?
been a long time.
But
So
I guess the reason I was getting at that is how has it sort of changed and evolved to being what it is today?
Well, I will say with that first simple truth of the women's and girls and just kind of focusing and bringing up those challenges and concerns, we've evolved to now providing grant funding and community initiatives that support programming efforts from leadership, advocacy, community development for girls to have that strong stability and success for the future.
Well, how do you decide, how does the Women's Fund or you decide where to invest the monies and how do you prioritize things? Help me understand that.
Well, the Women's Fund is made up of about 300 members, and all of those members don't just show up to do the work, they actually show up to participate.
Okay.
So from their expertise, from their dialogues, from their learning, we use that to support data-driven and community approach to everyone has a voice in the decision on where funding goes. We also rely on community members and nonprofit leaders because this isn't not an isolated event. We really want to know what's happening in our community, what those gaps are, and where we can make the best investment with those funds.
Well, that sort of brings me to this. Let's talk about impact for a second. Give me an example of how you think the Women's Fund has had an impact on the community.
I would definitely say, speaking back to our grant and community initiatives, they are largely accessible through health services, through youth programming, to job readiness, workforce development. And with us making those contributions to these local nonprofits, they're really able to push out the investment to meet the need of the community.
Really making a difference that way through the funding and everything. How do you think the community should and could get involved to support the Women's Fund, and why is it important for everybody to do so?
Well, it's important because when women and girls thrive, communities are more resilient. And in doing so, we often always want to communicate how community, how membership, how volunteering, and how investment are impactful to showing up for our community and making it a community level investment.
Why are you so, we didn't rehearse this or anything, but let me ask you a personal question about your gratification in helping other people, whatever. How did you come to be involved and want to do the kind of work that you're doing? I mean, did that come from something you learned from your family or your grandparents or what?
Yeah, so definitely I was born and raised in Winston-Salem in Forsyth County, and I went off to learn about communities and having this belief that everyone deserves this opportunity to thrive, no matter their creed, their pedigree, and where they come from. And through my education and learning and involvement in the Winston-Salem Forsyth County community, I was just, matched with this job opportunity to really
perfect for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, it really was perfect to put what I deeply believe in into action, and that's what the Women's Fund of the Winston-Salem Foundation does.
You're a great role model, not just for women, but for everybody. I just appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you.
I want to, before I forget, I want to put something up on screen here. Go to, the website is wsfoundation.org. Let me say it again, wsfoundation.org, which has a lot of different portals that you can visit to find out about the program, the Women's Fund. They can learn about the Women's Fund from that,
yes,
right?
Correct.
Okay. And I hope you will do that because there's a lot of good information there. And Brianna, you and the foundation do such great work. Hope you come back and see us.
Yes, thank you.
All right. We'll be right back after this.
At Sutton Brothers, we're confident we can help you solve your heating, cooling, plumbing, and electrical needs.
So confident that we'll fix it or it's free. Our highly trained technicians will diagnose your problem and fix it with either a repair or replacement.
And if we can't fix it, you won't pay the trip fee.
So the next time you have a problem, call us.
We'll make sure you're completely satisfied.
Guaranteed.
Call Sutton Brothers today and be confident things will be done right. Schedule online at suttonbros.com.
Major funding for Triad Today comes from Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Carolina, making healthcare better for all. The Roundtable is brought to you by Sutton Brothers, locally owned and operated and serving all of your HVAC, plumbing, and electrical needs. Back now on Triad Today, just about time for the Roundtable, but a quick shout out to the good folks here at the Carnival Auto Museum. Mark this down on screen. There's a website and everything. You can buy your ticket to a special event on April 25th. It's going to help raise money for the museum. We're going to have the great-grandson of the man who won the great race of 1908. He'll be in period costume and doing a presentation. It's going to be great. Please get your tickets on that. All right, we're here with, of course, Ogie Overman, Dave Briggs, Mr. Theater, and welcoming back Keith Granberry after recovering from surgery. Good to have you back, sir.
Glad to be back.
All right, guys. Of course, in the state Senate race, District 26, that was in the news so much, Sheriff Sam Page defeated temporarily Phil Berger, the incumbent, by 2 votes. 2 votes. They're going to do a recount and count some provisional ballots in the next week. Guys, were you surprised at this? And what are the implications if Sam holds on?
Well, I was surprised. I've never seen one that close. It's just unheard of. But I'm happily surprised that the Trump influence doesn't seem to be as strong as it once was. That's good news.
All right.
I had never seen that much money spent on a local race.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. Although Sam Page has a long history in his county, and that's the one that pulled him through.
Right, Keith.
I'm surprised. I think what Ogie said it best. It seems like the president's hold on North Carolina is slipping, and this is a perfect example of that.
And yet our buddy Sam Page, the sheriff, supports Trump. It's not that he's
right.
that different in policy, but he just doesn't he's a square shooter. Sam Page is a square shooter, and I hope he does hold on. All right, very quickly, one other thing, since we covered the 6th district race here on Triad Today, of course the incumbent is Addison McDowell, a Republican, but now High Point Mayor Cyril Jefferson won the primary and will face Addison in the fall. Any chance he will beat Addison?
Well, I hate to say it, but he really has. The way the Republicans gerrymandered it last time around, he didn't have a prayer.
Dave?
I honestly think that Cyril does have a chance, and I think Addison is going to have to learn how to campaign because he's never had to do that.
Yeah.
All right, Keith?
I think with the way that the politics is building up now, the war, the economy, a variety of issues that's reshaping North Carolina, he has a great chance. This is his only, the candidate, a Democratic candidate in this thing has a great chance based on the anger of the voters right now.
Right. Speaking of that, Donald Trump was unhappy with his low approval numbers from a recent Gallup poll, so Gallup suddenly announced it will no longer track presidential approval ratings. This will end a 90-year tradition. Quickly, guys, is that a big deal or no big deal?
Well, to me, it's a big deal. Gallup, of all people, the granddaddy of all polling organizations, caving in to Trump like so many other law firms and universities. It's pitiful.
I was surprised, Dave.
It's pitiful.
Polls are polls. And I am surprised that Gallup decided not to do that. And maybe they'll pick it up. It'll be really interesting to see once Trump is no longer president, whether they reinstitute it.
All right, Keith.
I kind of disagree with that. I think polls aren't polls. Gallup has a esteemed history when it comes to polls, and I think that this is another example of what I've been telling people. Trump is probably the most powerful president that I've seen in recent history. Everything moves according to his thought process.
That's right. 10 states now have enacted policies that will ban local officials from cooperating with ICE's tactics for mass deportation. Some others, mayors and others, have already said things like if they wear masks in our city, or we're going to, arrest them or whatever. Would you like to see North Carolina crack down and issue this same kind of ban, Ogie?
Yeah, I have no problem with that at all.
Dave?
Absolutely not. If you're in this country illegally, you don't belong here.
But the way they're deported...
Well, there's a law. There's a law, and they can come in legally, or they can come in illegally. If you're here illegally,
you're already breaking the law. I agree with that. I guess the point is, the tactics that some of the ICE agents are using, I think, is coming to question. Keith,
these tactics are wrong. They're medieval. They're treating people less than human, and I think that you're taking something that. Many of these people are tax-paying, I can't say citizens, but residents.
Right.
And billions of dollars are being built on these people's back in terms of the economy. You can't have people come in and rip them away from their family, rip them away from their kids, just because you feel like they're illegal. So you're also targeting people, and that's wrong.
All right. Finally, changing subject here, according to the American Academy of Plastic Surgery, an increasing number of men are having surgery to remove fat from their butt. Guys, have you ever, or would you ever, have fat removed from your butt, Ogie?
I don't have a butt to begin with. I really don't have a butt. I would, I'm getting a gut.
Dave?
Butt.
I've never had any fat in my butt, so no.
Keith, would you have anything removed from your butt?
I mean, I saw the strangest thing in Atlanta. There are guys who are putting fat in their butt. It's the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. I don't even have a butt, so therefore, but it's crazy.
Four buttless guys, and that's all the time we have. Except for this, last week Procter & Gamble said they're going to get rid of Mr. Clean. They're going to sell the product Mr. Clean, but get rid of the character Mr. Clean. Boy, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard a CEO do, said the CEO of Crocker Barrel. So they had all right, for all of us here, I'm Jim Longworth. We'll see you next week.